Good evening and welcome to episode 11 of the Unhinged Dads podcast. I am Brian De Almeida. With me is my regular co-host, Dave Pasco.
Hello.
And with us tonight is our special guest, Uncle Ian McMurtrie, who some of you may know as LawDog, and also identifies as Speaks to Lawyers. It's an unfortunate vocation for him.
Well, when you run a publishing house, somebody's got to talk to lawyers.
It's true.
And you're more practiced than anybody else there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I really try to avoid the lawyers if at all possible. Let's see. Oh, we have already got a half dozen people watching us. That's fantastic.
Woohoo!
What?
So,
Wow, that's amazing.
So let us launch into our questions 3, gentlemen, which of course are: what have you done for self-improvement this week? What is something that you have fucked up this week? And what is something that you've done well? We're past 30 seconds, so we can use the F word now without getting suppressed by YouTube.
That's true.
Well, I worked out, so I've done something to improve myself.
Good.
What about you, Dave?
Oh, to improve myself. I've been on we all got diagnosed with strep throat last weekend, and so I've been taking medicine to literally improve my quality of life. Huzzah for modern antibiotics, which is not exactly what we're talking about, but at this point in my life, I am quite dedicated to following the doctor's instructions, and so should everyone else be. PSA: take your meds
to a degree.
way. Fair. This is why we know doctors, so we can ask them.
Maintain some credulity here. For me, this week, it was honestly a pretty low bar. My birthday was Tuesday, and as we know,
Happy birthday.
My relationship with
brother.
birthdays and holidays is somewhat fraught, and I tend to be a morose little bastard on them. So my effort this week was to not be a miserable bastard for my birthday.
Yeah, I have that trouble myself.
I succeeded.
Outstanding.
So what's something that we've screwed up this week?
As a man of a certain vintage, to quote my doctor, I screwed up by getting out of bed. I did not realize at this stage in my life that getting out of bed, just climbing out of bed, can do you in for a couple of days. And that doesn't seem
it can.
That's
why you're doing the exercising thing. You know, that it ameliorates to a degree, hopefully.
God, I hope so. I hate to feel what that was like if I hadn't been exercising.
You see them. They look about a decade older than you, and they shuffle around with bent backs and bad joints, like worse joints.
And diabetes.
To be believed, diabetes.
Well, my part-time retirement job is working at a independent living center. And every time I decide I don't want to go into the gym and get under the bar for the squats, I remind myself of the little old gentleman going down the hallway, bent over like a question mark. Suddenly, getting under 225 pounds doesn't feel so bad.
No,
Yeah.
No, there are worse fates.
By far.
Yeah.
So what about you, Dave?
What have I fucked up this week?
We don't need a list.
I'm trying. No, I'm just right. I'm trying to remember the specifics. The problem was it was at the beginning. It was like Friday or Saturday. I dropped the ball with my wife, and I said I was going to do something, and I didn't. And I had to. Yeah. I mean, you've met my wife. She's very forgiving. She gives me all the grace that I don't give myself. But it is not fun to own up to your own screw-ups and apologize.
Never is. For me, I did not do any of my workouts this week. My shoulders were destroyed from applying and sanding drywall mud, and I did not follow through on that at all this week.
Yeah, likewise, but I have the excuse of being ill.
Well, that, and I always have the excuse of being busy, given that I've given myself 5 more part-time jobs in the last 6 months.
Overachieving much?
I'm supposed to be retired.
Yeah.
But we're seeing how that's working. I've got a pile of end grain cutting boards in process for a charity benefit. We've got my in-laws' house. We've got my basement. We've got 2 podcasts, and 6 children, 3 dogs, and everything else that comes along with being me. So I can always find an excuse to not work out because I have shit that has to be done all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, going to do better on that this week.
Yeah. Good.
Well, we've got a viewer here who commiserates.
Hello, Reagan.
Busier in retirement than I was in 33 years of Army stuff.
Look, our Army stuff, much like Navy stuff, there are certain prescribed constraints where there are things that are just not going to happen, and then you have all of that taken away, and it's like, oh, what do I do with my time? And then suddenly it fills up.
Yep.
Suddenly, inevitably.
All right. So, what is something that we did well this week?
Moved air in and out.
That's a good start.
We've been working on the house. We're getting closer and closer and closer, but they're still not running water.
That's not required for life.
Have you talked to his wife? She might have a different opinion.
Yes.
I mean, strictly technically speaking.
And no.
You can hook up a manual pump to the well.
Yeah. Have you priced a manual pump these days?
Not recently.
Sounds like you have.
I have. It's absurd. Like, a decent manual pump is still in the hundreds to low thousands of dollars, which is what your electric pump is going to cost. So what's the point?
Yeah. Now I have lived where all we had was manual pumps at certain times, but
yeah. Me too.
Oh, and yet another comment from Bob Cruz. I think I'm going to stay at my job because that retirement stuff sounds like too much work.
Not
wrong.
See, part of what's going on here is that Brian and I are individually responsible for the housekeeping, and the homemaker is what I usually put on my taxes, which less than 2 weeks to go on that.
Oh shit!
I know, right? I had that thought today too.
I now have an accountant, and I've discovered that under occupation, apparently you are not supposed to put thug. So about 20 years of my past...
You're retired from that.
About 20 years of my past tax returns. Oops.
Okay. Like, because there's thugs, and then there's what you are, which was jackbooted thug.
And point.
See, that makes it official, like.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should have put jackbooted on there.
Mm-hmm. Look, if there's jackboots, it's got to be official.
Right. Yeah. And polished.
Okay, so what did I do well this week? You know what? I'm going to take the same win that I did last week. My oldest son is in his second week of freshman year of high school that all of his homework is in and on time. Seems we finally figured out the right amount of structure to get him doing that.
Well done.
It's been a struggle. You have the most severely ADHD kid I've ever met, and all of his homework is boring, so motivating him and helping him stay on task to do it requires, honestly, more effort on my side than it does for him to actually do the work. So
Yeah, fair.
getting him there has taken several months of figuring out what does and does not work, and maintaining the momentum is one hell of a win as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I feel sorry for my parents because we showed up stateside, and I had a tutor, and in Africa, and then I got introduced to the American school system.
The child prison system.
Yeah, the child prison system, and it was not a good fit.
You don't say.
No. Well, just American General was not the fit. Not the fit that all of the books the engineers that I read of the engineers had me believing that it might be. There'll be stories about this later, but my 16-year-old butt got frustrated and bored. So I walked down to the local small Texas town drugstore and asked for half a pound of iodine crystals. And they said, "Why do you need iodine crystals?" And I said, that's not your business. How dare you? That's not your business. Woo! That noise became pretty frequent in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so that is the fastest we've ever made it through our questions 3.
It's true, by
about
half.
30 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, we tend to ramble. So for any of our viewers who are not acquainted with Ian, I knew him as LawDog in an entirely different setting online. And then almost 15 years ago, came to know him as Ian through the wonders of the pernicious social media. And then as there was a small literary convention in the town where I lived, I was hosting friends I knew from online at dinner, and realized that the guy I'm sitting and talking to, I've known for a long time as old NFO, and fucking LawDog is sitting on my couch trying to not smack my wife because she just grabbed his hat and put it on her head because she was socially kind of clueless. But it's not
for those of you
current wife.
For those of you who don't know, I'm in Texas. I was in West Texas, and there are certain hat rules.
Mm.
And one of the hat rules in West Texas is, one, I don't wear hats inside anybody's house, so I take my hat off.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the rules is if a lady has interest in a cowboy, she'll put his hat on. So I'm sitting eating some fantastic barbecue, drinking a lovely cocktail with a gentleman that I've only known online and I really like. I look over and Rita's growling because his wife had put my hat on, and Rita understood hat rules. And it's like, I'm gonna wind up.
That wife.
Oh, that wife. Now I know you, Brian. Okay. So that story has gone around. Goodness.
Yeah, indeed.
It's look, Rita's definitely on the list of ladies I would strive not to irritate.
Oh yes, very much. But so, anyways,
actually, most of
Ian,
our
known as LawDog from the Gunternet, and so we've now been friends for a long time, and
26 years,
something like that. Basically, since I got back from my extracurricular trip to the Philippines, that was a couple of years long. Because that's when I found the firing line and the high road, and just didn't realize that these people were the same people. That night was a wait. I've actually holy shit! It's been basically my entire adult life.
Meeting in person, the weirdos you only know from the interwebs can occasionally
especially when you find out that two of them are actually one.
Right.
But for our regular dad listeners, if you think your children are chaos gremlins, we are going to redefine the definition of that. We're going to redefine that term for you, because we have, courtesy of Ian's book, The LawDog Files, Africa Files. That's right. The title was slightly changed between version 1 and 2. Are the curated, public appropriate stories, some of them, from when Ian was growing up in Africa as the son of a your dad was a petroleum engineer, correct?
Petroleum, correct.
So we're going to share. Ian's going to share some stories from his childhood and elsewhere.
And one that I don't tell in public very often, because these two have challenged me that I can't get them shut down. So there's I'm going to tell a story that I don't tell very often, and we'll see if the dare holds up.
YouTube thinks about that.
Yeah, we're not monetized right now, anyways, so we're pretty good. Oh, and yeah, Bob's right. The world was a much better place when Gun Talk was on the forums and not in Gen Pop social media. If you've been watching Larry Correa's posts over the last 2 months,
oh my gosh,
100% correct.
The world was a better place when everybody's hobbies were restricted to forums and not Gen Pop.
Yes,
that's valid. That is valid. So, Ian.
Yes.
The floor is yours. Let's redefine what chaotic children are.
First off, you have to understand that my father, brilliant man that he was, regarded children as small people in his house for some reason. And my mother, had been a only child who wasn't really sure about other kids.
Oh dear.
And both of them were incredibly intelligent. Mm-hmm. And since my father was when I say petroleum engineer, he did work in the oil field on rigs occasionally, but mostly what he did was what we called mud, which were the chemicals, the mass quantities of chemicals that you require to drill. Beirut, bentonite, the slurries that go down in the wells. And extracting all of these, he was one of the best grinding plant engineers around in the 60s and 70s. In a lot of, he was in demand. And in order to gain to grinding Beirut, grinding bentonite, mica, all that, not only was all that fun, because you can do stuff with bentonite as far as rockets go, but the other chemicals required to extract that stuff, like I had access to 55-gallon drums of ammonia.
That's a lot of ammonia, Ian.
So here's my father, who is a chemical engineer, my mother, who is an artist with a certain love for chemicals, and who had interests of her own and wanted to keep her sons occupied. And realizing my mother, maybe through my father, realized that boy children need slightly more energetic things to keep their attention. And she was a redhead, Well, okay. As a for instance, I write a story in here about we had West Africa has geckos. And there's these lovely little pink lizards, and you can actually see their hearts beating through their skin.
Mm-hmm.
And they're house geckos, and they're all inside the house. And if you're new to Africa, you hate them. If you've been there for longer than 72 hours, you love them because they eat all the bugs.
Yep.
Yes.
And so we had this one lizard, one gecko that had taken up residence in the bar because my parents were the only steady married couple in West Africa at the time. So our house was a social center for everything.
For all the other expat engineers, right?
Engineers. I've had a CIA agent asleep in the bathtub, sleeping off a bender in the bathtub.
That checks.
Yeah.
So the bar and this gecko somehow wound up when the sun went down and the serious drinking got started. He would come out of his light, and somebody would dip some popcorn in whatever cocktail was being imbibed at the time, set it on the bar, and he'd go over and he'd have his morning sip, and then he'd go start killing bugs. Well, one night somebody left the sliding door open. It was probably hotter than hell's hinge pins, and they'd left the sliding door open, and the gecko's going around the bar doing his business, and all of a sudden he freezes, and everybody looks around, and there's this absolutely huge praying mantis coming through the door like an Oriental mandarin, just looking around
Like they do.
Yeah, and they eat geckos. They eat everything.
I've seen large praying mantises eat small lizards.
Yeah, and mice and
It's
everything else.
mildly horrifying.
Yeah. So this praying mantis is going along slowly like they do, surveying his territory, and the lizard's watching him. The gecko's watching him. Everybody's going, this is odd. And the praying mantis comes up to the footrail of the bar, the lizard or the gecko's under the bar. And everybody's, the hell? And he's looking, and then he lets go with three of his feet. He's hanging there by 1 foot, and he's swaying back and forth. And we're, what the hell? And he lets go, and he just whams on the back of this praying mantis. The praying mantis' thorax was bigger than the lizard.
Yeah.
So praying mantis goes flat. Gecko rolls off the lizard or off the praying mantis, gets a hold of a leg, and does the alligator death roll. Leg pops off. Gecko takes off. Praying mantis goes, what the hell? I'm 5-wheel drive all of a sudden. What the hell? He goes back up. The gecko goes back up, and he's toes. Wham! Another leg comes off. And the engineers, when he was down to 3 legs, the engineers felt sorry for the praying mantis. They grabbed the gecko, we put him on the bar, and they picked up the praying mantis and chucked him into the front yard.
Yeah.
And they were, at the time, not quite sober. So they decided that he was the major, because that's long range desert route major. And he got more. So he is a known thing at the bar. Well, one of Dad's big bosses, one of the chairholders of the company he worked for that was based in Houston, every once in a while they had to come to Africa. They had to come see what was going on. They never lasted long. Africa in the 60s and 70s was not good for white boys. If you didn't know, rich white boys didn't last long in West Africa. They didn't like it. So this guy shows up, and he's flat. He's been there for 24 hours. He is flat disgusted. He doesn't like Africa. It stinks. The people are stupid. Yada yada yada. And he's knocking back his booze. A major comes out of his light, and he winds up and says, "And there's goddamn animals everywhere." Pow! Major flies across, hits the mirror, and drops behind the bottles. And everybody's staring at him. Like, what the hell? Mom is headed for her bedroom to get a machete. Dad grabs Mom. Please don't kill the big boss. And he's bitching. Everybody's kind of watching him, and drinking continues. And my dad leans back for a drink and freezes, which was kind of odd. And everybody looks up, and there's the major, directly above the guy that had just, and he's hanging by one toe. It's like I'm going, Dad, and Dad's going, shh, Dad. So this ass clown looks at me and says, you should probably listen to your father. Plunk. Something from the ceiling falls into his drink.
Uh-huh.
So listen to your father, parental wisdom. And when he brings it here, the major bites his nose, wraps all four legs in his tail, and starts trying to twist it off his face. So, and bearing in mind, his nose was bigger than the gecko.
Oh, yes.
So he cross eyes on the gecko and faints right smooth that ass out. Just right off the... Mom goes and gets her lizard.
That was the least bad result.
Mom is still pissed. And this is where it gets bad. Mom is still pissed. So the next day, she sends me and Chris to the local apothecary for a 1 pound bag of iodine crystals. So we go down and, we need iodine crystals. It's like, young saw, what you need iodine crystals? Yes, do you have money? Here's money. We put it on the counter. And notice I'm reaching up to not to mind put this on the counter. We weren't real big.
So you were what, 7?
Yep. 8. No, maybe 9 at the time.
Uh-huh.
Come back with a 1 gallon Ziploc bag full of iodine crystals that he had just sold to a 9-year-old. Mom has a beaker of ammonia, liquid ammonia. So she proceeds to tell us and let us help her make ammonium triiodide, known in the States as nitrogen triiodide.
Uh-huh.
And ammonium triiodide is this love, and she's telling us, she mixes the first batch because we had to make 4 batches for reasons which will become known. We make 4 batches. So she makes 1 batch, says, all right, I'm going to drink my tea. Let's see if you can do it. So I make a batch. Well, you've done well. So Chris makes a batch. Good. And then we got 4 batches of this stuff. This is a purple paste, which is fairly stable when it's a paste. It's mostly stable for certain values of stable. But when it dries, you can set it off with a feather. I've set the stuff off across the room with a green laser pointer. It is extremely unstable. Holy gods, is it unstable.
Yeah, it's about like acetylene once you pressurize it beyond 22 psi.
Yeah, it's once it starts to dry, if the crystals move, blam, purple smoke. Okay, so my mom gets these 4 beakers of ammonium triiodide. Boys, come with me. We go out to where his car is. Okay, he's still sleeping off being drunk and being assaulted by a lizard. And we pop off the hubcaps. And we don't just smear a little ammonium triiodide. There's a 1/4 pound of ammonium triiodide in each hubcap and a rock. Put him back on. We go wake him up, get him the hell out. He is driving to the airport. All right. Now, Nigeria.
What are roads like?
Calling them roads is generally charitable, from my understanding. Having not been to Nigeria, much less generous 50 years ago.
And also remember that at the time, the national sport of Nigeria was revolution. So the ammonium triiodide in the humid climate actually stayed apace until they got to Lagos International Airport in Lagos. And according to witnesses, because Mom had to find out, about 300 yards shy of where he's supposed to be dropped off, 1 hubcap exploded. He thought he was being shot at. So at 30 miles an hour, he unasses the Mercedes. in time for the second hubcap to go off past his ear. He takes off at a dead run with hubcaps 3 and 4 chasing him down the concourse, and the driver chasing him, "Saw your bags! Saw your bags!" And never came back. But we had the recipe for ammonium triiodide.
And mind you, dear gentle listeners, this was with mother's supervision.
Oh, you think that's bad? Yeah. Okay, so after we had dug a pit in the backyard because we had been forbidden from collecting beef. We'd been introduced to the books of Gerald Durrell, who was an Englishman who founded the modern zoo system. But he had come to Africa several times to gather animals, and his books are side-splittingly funny. We had been introduced to these books, so we were going to help Gerald Durrell collect animals. Well, about the third time we came back with something in the jar that made my mom go white. Mom said, "You're not allowed to." Dad, tink, tink, tink. I think that's a vine snake, honey. It's not a green mamba. No, I don't think it's a green mamba. So we were not allowed out of the yard anymore, and we weren't allowed out at night. There was something. Mom looked out the kitchen window, and me and Chris were chasing a baboon through the backyard. It made her very nervous.
Reasonably so. Baboons are evil bastards.
Well, yes. And baboons, you don't typically find a baboon.
Well, evil and mean as hell.
Remembering that was a couple years before we set an entire troop of baboons on fire. Accidentally. I didn't done it on purpose. We set them on fire accidentally. Anyway, so
yes,
1976,
everything.
1976, 4th of July, but we'll get into that. So we had built a pit. We had caught a rattle, which is honey badger. Honey badger don't care. Honey badger.
Honey badger.
That had led to a whole bunch. We wound up with declaring war on the Nigerian Army. Not our fault, but they blamed the kids. So they took away. We couldn't do that anymore. So one of the engineers, trying to be helpful, gave us. He was the same one. He gave us a book on medieval siege weaponry, which led to we wound up seizing a Jeep and repatriated the Nigerian Army several months later with under negotiations and terms. So the book on siege weaponry went away. My mom, we got bored because we'd been throwing bowling balls for yoinks. Also, we weren't throwing bowling balls anymore. So mom got tired of us hanging around the house. So she said, "Okay, go get me some charcoal." We got some charcoal. I need some, get a little bit of sugar, some sulfur, some saltpeter. So we went down to the apothecary. We bought sulfur, saltpeter. Here's the money, and come back with bags of sulfur and saltpeter.
No.
And then
one point of note here before we continue here with the founding of the Nigerian Space Agency, the bowling balls were not being thrown by 7 and 8 year old boys.
Oh no,
they were being thrown several hundred meters via trebuchet that they had help from the other petrol engineers while they were drinking. Right?
My father's 16-pound bowling ball was being launched by a trebuchet, which had close to 800 pounds in the counterweight.
Wow.
Yes.
So my son's scout troop did trebuchets at Camp Out. So they were proof of concept, and the boys learned a great deal of practical ballistics, including trebuchets are not as easy as you think they are.
Oh no.
But they were not hurling 16-pound bowling balls.
Well, we had this little book, and we started with these 2x4s, and it was about the height of a child.
Sure.
Well, the not quite sober engineers on the front porch said, "Let us help."
Oh, we could do better than that.
And about an hour later, they fired up the angle grinder and the power welder.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yes.
those mix really well with alcohol.
Yes.
Well, because steel works better than wood when
Yeah.
it comes to these things.
And the main arm was 25 feet long, and there's 800-pound counterweight. So we're launching Dad's bowling. Well, we got it, and they had to use a winch truck to get the thing locked. And Dad went and got his bowling ball. Mom ceremonially pours a beer on it, and we launch it. We had this, I think 300 meters away, they built a little castle wall out of empty oil drums. So we'd have something. And Mom hung up a tablecloth on it as a flag. So we were throwing the bowling ball at it. And next thing we know, one of the local little dacoits, and I swear to God, it was Brigadier Captain Azakiwi. And Azakiwi, he was this little, he's one of these little guys. He would be Nobby Nobbs from
Discworld
Terry
books.
Pratchett's books if he was smarter.
Yes.
But he wasn't smart enough to be Nobby Nobbs.
Well, that's why he was a bureaucrat.
Yeah. Well, if the Army was in power, he was a brigadier captain. If the civilian government was in power, he was a junior assistant minister of trade and society or something. Anyway, so he had gotten inside this locked compound and was stealing my mother's tablecloth. So the engineers went, did some adjustment, launched the bowling ball, and his Nigerian Army issue Jeep all of a sudden went crump.
Yep.
So Chris and I go running down there, looking around, and Azakiwi's nowhere to be seen. We pry the bowling ball out of the driver's seat of the Jeep and look up. And there's Azakiwi's face in a palm tree, and he is purple, and he's screaming, "Devil children! Devil children! Not picking!" It's like, wow, he's mad. We go running back. We give the bowling ball to my dad, and he said, did you see Azakiwi down there? I said, he's in a palm tree. And one of the engineers is going, not for bloody long, he's not. And they cranked the trebuchet around, and they had Mom's wicker laundry hamper, and they filled it with beer cans.
Oh, dear.
In the 70s, beer cans were made out of steel, folks.
Yep.
Yes.
So they probably had 25 pounds of steel beer cans. And they ground zeroed that palm tree.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, so that's why we got the book on siege engines taken away. And it was replaced with a book on Roman legion encampments, which made things so much worse. But anyway, so
I mean, they go hand in hand, really.
We do.
So Mom is mixing up this black gooey paste, and so she go get some bamboo. So she stuffs bamboo in one end. My father's walking by with his normal coffee cup that was grafted to his hand, and Mom lights the fuse, and Dad's and then the length of bamboo just cartwheels down the street with this lovely blue flame out of one end. And my father goes, Russian design. And
Russian ICBMs.
Russian design. So we have discovered rockets. And Mom says, go, you've seen how I make the stuff. Go amuse yourselves. So we've decided that Ghana is in serious danger of invading Nigeria. And we have met the Nigerian army. They are obviously not capable. They need help. So we are making ICBMs. And then these rockets get going off, and then we realize the Americans are putting men in space. We look around, and we are overrun with these lizards, and we call them red fox lizards. I forget they're something, but we call them red fox lizards. Got red heads and these kind of blue-black bodies and green tails. So it's like we obviously, if the Americans can put chimps in space, we have lizards. So we made a rocket. We grabbed a lizard. We taped him to the top of the rocket. And we discovered that a lizard going, fuck, just throws your guidance off. You don't get that proper, wah!
It's the thrashing.
Yes. So several dozen generations of lizards later, we discovered that if we set up a rocket and then we found a lizard and we got 5, 6, 8, 10 feet of string, 550 cord probably, and we tied it to the base of the rocket and then tied it to the leg on the lizard be going, sitting there going, the hell? What about those little bastards? Wah! And the drag of lizard attached to 10 feet of string would keep the nose relatively, and lizard would disappear into orbit somewhere.
Theoretically.
Well, theoretically. Story about that. So we're launching the space program, and my father, absent-minded person that he was, because by one day he's watching the next sacrificial lizard over the jungle line, he goes, interesting stuff, black powder, good for so many things. Charcoal here is crap, so your mom's adding sugar, but it's good stuff. And Chris and I had not known that was black powder. We knew what black powder was.
You knew that from books.
Oh, yes. We knew what it was. We just didn't realize that was black powder. So, back down to the apothecary, come back with the ingredients, and we figured, okay, so it's black powder, but it's going instead of boom. And if
Bob's
we want to
got
go
this
boom,
right. Eat your heart out, Werner von Braun.
Yeah, right.
so we're figuring
Best
it needs
of
to go bang.
28-year-olds.
If we've got ICBMs, there must be punch at the end, right? We have black powder, but we need to know why the hell this stuff isn't going bang. So we sussed on it for an afternoon, and we realized that if it's in a solid lump, it goes. If it's in pieces, it probably go bang, right? So we went down to the apothecary, put our money on the counter, came back, and we mixed up. Do you remember those 2 or 3 gallon galvanized buckets?
Yep.
Full of black stuff, about that far from the top. And we set out in the sun.
That's a lot.
And a couple of days later, we figured it's dry. So we take our galvanized bucket, we turn it upside down, we start banging it on the concrete drive. Sparks everywhere. And finally, thud, it comes out, and it is bucket shaped. Well, good engine, but we need bang, so it's got to be crunched up. So we go and get our steel rock hammers, and we are breaking this thing. Sparks when you're working. And next thing you know, we've got large chunks of black powder, but that's still too big. That's just not going to fit. It's not going to fit in our ICBMs, right? Our bamboo,
right.
Our BC, yeah. So we remembered that somebody had given my mother, one of the engineers, had purchased for my mother an Italian coffee machine. When I say Italian coffee machine, this thing was taller than us. I think it ran off 440. That might be an exaggeration. But you could put your coffee beans in, it'd grind the coffee beans. You had a slot for adding your foo-foo stuff. And then it would come out and you would have powdered coffee, right? And the thing was huge. Well, Mom never used it. Mom doesn't like coffee.
So your mother was a tea drinker, wasn't she?
She drinks tea. Well, if Mom's not going to use it, it obviously needs to be requisitioned for the war effort, right? So we fire it up.
Seems logical.
Yeah, and we are feeding chunks of black powder into the center part where the foo-foo stuff goes. And we're getting finely ground powder. This is great, but it's not fast enough because it needs to be faster. We've got to build these rockets. So we take one of the glass jugs of coffee beans. There were 2. One up front, one behind that were full of coffee beans that fed in. We took one of them, filled it full, dumped out the beans, filled it full of black powder, and we're running it through and we're stuffing more. Well, we weren't entirely gourmets. It was making a weird noise. Sort of psst, psst noise. And that's damned odd. And there was kind of a pink glow an intermittent pink glow coming from inside the steel grinding blade. And
Weird.
yeah, odd, strange even. So we're looking at it. And about that time, here comes my father, who is, mom and dad are hosting my father's best friend and his latest girlfriend for afternoon, whatever the adults did. And dad comes in and it's like, "Hi, boys, what the?" And my father was old. I was 9. Dad was very old. But I'm here to tell you, given the right motivation, my father could move. Because I swear to God, he had me under one arm, Chris on the other, and had button hooked the door going to the kitchen before his cocktail glass hit the floor.
That's impressive.
Goes hauling ass past his friend, past the friend's wife, past my mom, takes a flying dive behind this giant teak wood chest. Thing was the size of a Buick. And mom goes, "What that?" Dad grabs mom, yanks her. Tom goes, "I say, old boy, is there something?" And the girlfriend's going, "I just don't." And then the kitchen said, "Whoop."
Yes.
And Tom vanishes. Girlfriend, the hell was that? And the kitchen exploded. 5 pounds of black powder went up. There were transonic coffee beans that went right through cinder block walls. We found them in the front yard. It was glorious.
I would say some probably actually made it to Ghana.
And that was the end of your black powder experiments.
Yeah, that was the end of the black powder experiment.
And thus ended the Nigerian Space Agency.
The funny part is about a couple years back, my brother sent me a hyperlink to a story in a Florida paper about this invasive species of lizard that had shown up, and it was invasive and it needed to leave. I couldn't figure out why it was here, and the tagline was, "We didn't put that much powder in the rockets," because the picture was one of these little red-headed, black-bodied, blue-tailed lizards. We didn't put that much powder in the rockets.
Which
that wasn't on
I've
us.
looked. If you want to take a look at what these lizards look like, they are called the red-headed rock agama.
That's the one. Yes, agamas. And apparently they're invasive species in Florida, and that was not my fault.
Everything's an invasive species in Florida.
Including
It's
the
true.
people.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
No, that's mom would show us this stuff. Rocket candy. My father didn't show us rocket candy. Dad had much more fun stuff. Mom got bored with her children, her boy children, and said, "Here's rocket candy. This is how you make it. Go away."
Yeah.
I've done lots of fun things with rocket candy, including experimenting with trying to make it more potent and sometimes succeeding.
Well, my father, bless his heart, used to buy us chemistry sets.
Comment here. Did y'all ever tell that coffee machine company how well it worked on black powder?
Oh, Lordy.
I didn't.
Well,
The dad would buy us chemistry sets, and bearing in mind, in the 1970s, the chemistry sets were made out of wood. And I remember my favorite one. The very first experiment ended with hold a white 3x5 card behind the test tube. The yellow-green gas will be the chlorine.
Oh,
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yes. Yeah. And in the 70s, it was childhood was a Darwinian experiment. Only the strong survived.
well, especially in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
indeed.
So, yeah, and mom and dad also bear in mind that things are.
Young
We
people
ain't getting
today
there
think
yet.
their
We
lives
ain't
are
gotten there
dangerous.
yet.
Oh, they have no idea.
The company my father worked for, which was Beirut at the time, the guy that ran Beirut hired combat vets, American, Vietnam vets, Omani and Burma vets on the Brit side, because his philosophy was he'd already been overseas. You already know that things are different. And since you're alive, you know how to improvise.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, Chris and I were raised by a whole bunch of uncles that were combat vets.
And engineers.
And vets and engineers. And Mom and Dad would go to cocktail parties and leave us with these, despite knowing better. Because I remember one time, our favorite uncle was Uncle Chuck. And Uncle Chuck had been a LERP in Vietnam. And like my father said, not all of Chuck came back from the jungle.
Clearly.
There was one, we were going somewhere, and a whole bunch of protesters had blocked a road. And the Nigerian Army showed up, and it was Mom and Dad, and me and Chris, and Uncle Chuck. And the Army was looking for bribes. They'd already been bribed. They don't get any more, but they were going to be iron-assed about it. So about the end of the first hour, Uncle Chuck rolls down the window and looks at this 19-year-old Army trooper and says, "Hey, is that an AK-47? The trooper goes, "Yes, sir, AK-47. Chuck said, "Do you mind if I see it?" And Dad's going, "No! No! Here's bribe money. Let us go." Chuck's going, "Nobody will find the bodies. It'll be fine. Nobody will find the..." No. Well, Mom and Dad came home from a cocktail party one time, and we're in the front yard, and Uncle Chuck is teaching me and Chris, I was 8 and he was 6, was teaching us sentry removal.
Well, you put the knife in right around there.
You go down here, you hit the subclavicular knob, and you shove forward so he goes face down into the mud, then you hold his face in the mud until he dies.
Which doesn't take long because you've cut a lot of you've eliminated a lot of hydraulic pressure.
Yeah, the term is rapid exsanguination.
Yes, and my mother says, "Chuck, what makes you think that my children need to know how to kill a sentry?" And Chuck looks at my mother and says, "Nita, everybody needs to know that."
I mean, you were in Nigeria in the 1970s.
Yeah.
It's not completely unreasonable to my mind.
I didn't think so. Chuck didn't think so. Mom had other thoughts on that matter.
Yes, a mother would, I would imagine.
It was really weird. She would teach us how to make black powder and how to make a nitrate bath and how to make ammonium triiodide, but got twitchy about taking out sentries. Or, daily garrote building with Uncle Chuck.
I mean, those methods are a little more up close and personal than
it's
using
true.
explosives.
Uncle Chuck's methods could get your hands very damp.
Yes.
Sure, damp. We'll go with that.
And hers were basically applied chemistry experiments.
Yes.
It's a huge difference.
And I can't say that like I said,
never gotten along. It's fine.
I said, Dad's, Dad, I swear to God, there are these small people living in, where the hell these small people come from? Type of, there's more small people in my house. What the hell? But he also had a fairly unique way of handling things. Okay, so this is a story. One of the stories I tell, everybody goes, "Oh, bullshit," unless you've actually been there. And then people go, "Oh yeah, okay." So, there was a well out on the Delta that needed to be cracked. The casing had gone squirrely, and it needed to be cracked. And the way you crack a casing that far down is you use explosives. Well, the guy that supplied my father explosives from the Nigerian Army got a sudden nasty case of ethics.
Oh dear.
And told my father, I cannot sell you. I cannot sell you this explosive service. It belongs to Nigerian people. Dad going, is that an extra 100? The hell?
Yeah,
Saw,
Bob points
no,
out the
saw.
difference with
Yes.
applied chemistry versus applied anatomy.
Yes.
It's like-
Well stated.
Yeah,
So-
no, saw. We cannot. I am a servant of the Nigerian people. I cannot sell you explosives. And Dad's like, since when? So
Oh, so he just wanted a higher price.
no, there was apparently a nasty case of morality going around. It's. I understand you can take antibiotic for it these days.
It's
Anyway,
transitory, but it happens even
Yes.
in the rest of the world.
So Dad went to the market and talked to some guys and found out the cheapest place he could get what he needed at the time was Beirut. So, Mom, Dad,
in the 70s, you said.
Ian, and Chris all load up in a plane and we fly to Beirut. Check into a hotel. This is
What
before
year was
Beirut.
this?
77, 76, 77.
Wow.
We fly to Beirut.
Your
Oh.
father was aware of current events. I
need
get the
Kaboom.
impression that he just didn't believe they really applied to him,
No.
and that curiously enough, the world agreed.
It was Africa. So we fly to Beirut. We stay at this really swanky hotel. For the night, get up next morning, get into a taxi, go down to the souk, and you go into the souk, and we go to meet this older gentleman, and Dad buys 3 anti-tank rockets. He has bought these rockets.
As one
Sir,
does.
here are
It is
your rockets.
Libya.
Huh?
I said, as one does. It is Libya.
It's Lebanon.
Oh,
Lebanon.
right. Thank you.
It's Lebanon. So we're in Lebanon, buys the rockets, and he says, "Sir, I will throw in the rocket launcher for free." And Dad says, I don't need the rocket launcher. I just want the rockets. And the old gentleman says, "Sir, you have rockets." And Dad said, "I'm aware. You need the launcher." And Dad says, "No, I don't."
No, I don't.
"But sir, here." And Dad's fine. Fuck it. Oh, give me the rocket launcher.
Oh,
So
God.
we've got a backpack with 3 rockets in it and a rocket launcher, probably taken off some poor dead Russian somewhere. And we walk out of the souk and we get in the taxi that's been waiting. And we're going down the Corniche, the main road in Beirut. And Dad's looking around, hucks the rocket launcher out the window because he doesn't need it. Pulls up to the hotel, and we're getting out. And Dad's got this backpack with 3. And woo! And Mom goes, "Well, fuck." And this very official Beiruti police officer comes running up to Dad. "Sir, you lost this!" Hands Dad the rocket launcher. "I don't need the rocket launcher. You can have it." "Sir, you have rockets."
You must have a launcher.
Dad takes the launcher.
That tracks.
We go upstairs, get into our room, and about 5 o'clock that night, Dad look around, goes down the hall to the trash chute, drops it down 9 flights of poof. We're checking out the next morning, and how was your stay? It was great, lovely, loved the place. We are happy to see you, Mr. McMurtrie. Anytime you come in, we've been there before. Oh, by the way, you lost this. Clunk.
Say,
That's like
77, that was while Beirut was still actually rather nice.
it was gorgeous. 77 was great. Beirut was one of my favorite cities at the time. So we get in a taxi and we drive to the airport, and Dad said, "There's no way, all right, I got this. There's no way." So we go to customs, and we're checking in customs, and the customs agent said, is that a rocket launcher?" And my father says, "It is." "Oh my God, I forgot I had a rocket launcher. You should take this." I'm like, "Sir, you know better. Why you fill out papers? How you know better, Mr. McMurtrie. You've been here before. Sign here." And it was the ITAR form, or the shipping
The export
form.
paperwork.
Yeah, export
Yes.
paperwork. Dad's, God damn it. So we get on a plane, we stow his rocket launcher in the overhead compartment. We land in Lagos. Get off the plane at Lagos, and Dad hucks it off the side of the tunnel, and it comes back. And we're finally, Murtala Muhammad International Airport at the time was broken up into fiefdoms. Every gang had a part of the airport, and there were, to get from one end to the other, there was baksheesh everywhere.
Uh-huh.
So we get to customs. Anything declared? Dad said, "I want to declare this rocket launcher. You need to take it. Do you have paperwork for this, sir?" "I don't. So you should probably seize it." Filling out paperwork. Sign here. Stamp. Here's your paperwork. That's goddamn it.
And your launcher. Take it.
Still got the rocket launcher and the rockets. Get to the anything declare, and so Dad's got the 3 rockets in a duffel bag, and on top of the 3 rockets is a Playboy magazine, $100 American, and a bottle of White Horse Scotch whiskey, which was the standard bribe for getting through security at the time. And they didn't even look at the rocket launcher. They called a red cap, and he showed up and we put all our luggage. And I'm sitting on the duffel bag on the rockets. I was 10 years old. I didn't realize it was a bad thing. And I discovered the rocket launcher, which my father had been carrying the entire time. I'm looking through it, and it's got a sight. It's got this optical sight, and I am looking at stuff, and I'm having a good time. And we get to the first gang checkpoint, and I'm looking at somebody. I'm looking at and there's the lead guy, and he's getting awful pale, and so Dad is reaching his wallet, and the guy's going, "That's odd." So we get an armed escort.
This white man is crazy. He's giving a rocket launcher to a child.
A very small 10-year-old with a rocket launcher looking at me.
It's Nigeria in the 70s. I don't think that was the first time they'd seen that.
No, well, the first time they'd seen a very small Caucasian child.
I would say a small white child, yes. Perhaps.
Yeah.
So we get an armed escort all the way to the curbside. And my father had a stroke of genius when they're getting us, the scary people, the hell out. My father goes, "You have done well. You will take this rocket launcher as a token of my esteem." "Yes, sir."
Finally.
God damn it.
Oh.
3 continents, 14 countries.
Yeah.
Oh, and Bob Cruz points out, in the 60s, Beirut ranked among the financial and cultural centers of the world, right up there with New York, London, Paris, and Rome. I would also add at that time, Tehran was included there, and to a certain degree, even Kabul.
Yes.
Well,
before certain things happened.
Having been in London and Paris and Beirut all at the same time, I much preferred Beirut. Beirut was a lot more sane. You could go in the market. You could go in the market and buy a freaking rocket launcher. To me, that's sanity.
Indeed.
But my father has about once a year we'd get a crocodile problem in the Warri River, which is a tributary of the Niger. We get a crocodile problem. My father's solution to that was to fill a backpack full of gelignite, go out in the river, huck it over the side, and the explosion would kill everything half a mile out of the side of the river. And we didn't have a crocodile problem for about a year. That solutions tended to be very direct.
I approve.
Engineer.
Reading between the lines there, I think your dad may have had a touch of the ADHD, that whole inattentive and hyper-focus thing going on.
Yes. There was the rainy season in Warri is called the wet. And when I say rainy season, the West African jungle overachieves when it gets wet. The river overflows banks, and on a child, I'd be shoulder deep in water. And my dad would walk down to his office every day. The wet came, and they actually sent a canoe to get my dad. And Dad's got his paper, and he's got his coffee, his ever-present coffee. He's reading the paper and sipping his coffee, steps in the canoe. They take him to his office. He gets out. He wades through the office, hip deep in water. Gets to his office, sits down at his desk, and his secretary comes in. Sir, have you seen? And Dad's reading the paper, and he sets his coffee cup down, and he opens the side, takes out a crocodile, little baby crocodile, puts it on the blotter, grabs a pin, circles something, puts the pin back, grabs the crocodile, puts it back, shuts the drawer, and Tom comes in and says, "Jim!" And my dad goes, "What? You noticed the water? Like, the fuck all this water come from?"
Yeah.
Ian, I have long since simply taken it on faith that your stories are accurate to reality, because
No one makes this show.
you could not make these things up. They are too implausible and too pat.
Well, and that's the thing of it is, there are a lot of Americans that, oh, whatever, it's funny, funny, and
We haven't spent much time in, what do we call them now? Developing nations.
yes, Jim, old
What a
NFL that
euphemism.
Brian was talking about earlier.
Yep.
Jim Curtis actually lives in Owl Park, and the house across from his has a rotating. About every 2 years, somebody else moves in.
Mhm.
Well, about 4, 5, 6 years back, the guy that moved in there had been a CIA agent stationed in Africa and had probably been passed out in the tub. And Jim gave him a copy of the book. He went, "I remember that. I remember that." And three other people went, "What?"
Yep.
You remember
And
that.
Bob's got it right again. Remember,
Yeah.
Ian's actually toning these down to keep them slightly believable and family friendly.
Actually, yes.
Well, if you read historical accounts, Richard Francis Burton comes to mind. Lawrence of Arabia kinds of stuff, and you read between the lines. The world is a very strange place to the American
is.
mind, especially.
Americans
Gentlemen, I shall return momentarily.
Americans are so wrapped up in safe.
Mm.
We have water you can drink coming out of the pipe of the tap. I couldn't drink water out of the faucet until I was 16.
Yeah.
And it was really odd to me. It was years before I was like, seriously, out of the faucet.
Yes.
People.
In the States, good water is the water out of the tap that is safe and tastes good.
Yeah. And
Bad water doesn't taste good. It's still perfectly healthy.
Yeah. When the lake turns over and it tastes like fish, it's not good water, but there are folks in Africa that kill for it.
Sure.
If you're not in California, if you flip the power switch, the power comes on. In
Mhm.
Africa, that was not the case.
No.
It's like
No,
Americans.
Danny Kaye has had a song with I believe the Andrews Sisters, Civilization, or otherwise known as Bongo Bongo Bongo. I don't want to leave the Congo, and it's delightful, and it's from the perspective of a resident of one of those developing nations, talking about how what strange things these Western white people do. They work like dogs all year to save up and go somewhere where there's no fresh water and no electricity, and they fish. And weird thing, the native does that every day.
Yeah. Well, aero contractors, that was their day job was flying in and out of Warrior International Airport. And they had a policy that if you were a new pilot, new to Africa, you couldn't fly by yourself until you'd been there for a year.
I think that's wise.
Yeah, it was very wise.
They'd bribe the wrong people, for one thing.
Well, not only that, but that we had this pilot, Bob the not Russian. And
how not Russian was he, Ian?
Well, despite the Cyrillic tattoos on his arm and the getting shit-faced on vodka and singing Russian marching songs at 2 a.m, if you asked him, he'd go, "That's Russian. Bob, not Russian. Bob, the not Russian."
Okay, indeed.
He had this flying boxcar that was his pride and joy for aero contractors, and he flew the Warlord Lagos daily trip, where you'd load. Everybody that needed to go to Lagos would get on the plane, and he got a brand new baby pilot, brand new out of the U.S. Still had the new on his pilot's license, and that little bastard hated Africa, hated Africa. He hated Bob because Bob had to be 2 vodkas in before he could fly.
Mm-hmm. Tracks.
Yeah. So, and for the kid, you 8 hours, bottle to throttle. You, and it's like, shut up, kid. Yeah, yes. Give Bob a second. He's knocking down the last shot. He'll be out. Just give him a second. The kid,
we don't do that here, young man.
Yeah, we don't. So
this is Africa. Get with it.
So one day, Bob didn't wake up. He tied one on. So the baby pilot found another baby pilot. It's like, fine, fuck it. So I've done this plenty of times. So the natives look up the cockpit. They see 2 fresh-faced, and they grab the second guy and hook him off the plane. And they go get Bob. It's like, coffee. And Bob staggers out, and they plonk him in the seat, and kid is freaking out. And take off, and the villagers and natives decide they're going to celebrate this by cooking something angry in a sack. So in order to cook...
On the plane, to be clear.
Yeah, in order to cook this, they built a campfire on the back deck in the cargo bay. On the steel or aluminum deck. They built a campfire, they grabbed Angry Sack, and Angry Sack had views about being breakfast.
Really?
So when they opened the sack, Mr. Angry took off in a dead run. So naturally, they chased Mr. Angry. So the plane is doing this because they're doing laps in the back.
Uh-huh.
And the plane, well, about the 3rd or 4th circuit, something angry sees the hatch going to the pilot deck and decides to do a legger. Right up. Apparently right across the baby pilot. So the natives go bursting up there, and that's the last straw. Baby pilot has had it. He is done. Probably a baby croc, but who the hell knows, has just run across his lap. And there's a shit ton of natives with machetes in his flight deck. So he comes uncorked. And he screams at them, and Bob's just flying the plane. And they retreat to the back deck, and he takes this leap out of the back and lands on the back deck, and he is telling them how the cow ate the cabbage, standing in the campfire.
Yep.
So, they touch down at Lagos. Ambulance comes. They load baby pilot on the ambulance, and he is telling Bob that not even in this fucked up country are they going to let you fly anywhere without a co-pilot. So you're going to be here when you get out of the plane, and I'm going to yank that license out of your hand. And Bob's going, dot, dot, dot. Goodbye. Take off baby pilot, and Bob looks around. There's a guy at the edge of the runway with a chimp. And Bob goes over, how much for the chimp? And the native goes, 6 naira? Bob goes, I have 5 and vodka. Done.
Yep.
Gets the chimp, takes the gimme hat off of the guy's head, straps the chimp into the co-pilot seat, puts the gimme hat on the chimp, puts the headset, and takes off. So my dad, who was a pilot, and his best British friend, who was a pilot, are sitting in the pilot shack at Warlord International, And they are trying to figure out how the hell they're going to move X amount of chemical from one place to another with what they had. And they're working the whiz wheels. There ain't no fucking way this is going to work. And they're just frustrated. So my dad grabs his coffee and he's standing, looking out in the jungle. Here comes Bob in the flying boxcar. My dad goes, "But damned, that's a monkey." And Tom goes, "Jim, you can't say that. You can't. That's a fucking chimpanzee." Dad goes, another two flights and he can solo.
Oh, let's catch up on some comments here from Tuvella. Says, my kids have spent most of their lives overseas. They still ask if the water is safe when we travel in the USA. Having been subjected to the vagaries of the water systems in developing nations that eventually led to requiring a liver transplant at age 21, courtesy of a, I believe, drunk Filipino doctor, I don't blame them.
No.
Yeah.
I don't blame them at all. I once lost 60 pounds in 3 weeks. And it was not for my health in that case.
We like to tell our kids stories about how unusual it is to live in a place like this.
Where you just have clean water all the time.
Well, and we have a well, and it's non-functional right now because of flooding. And even once it's fixed, hopefully tomorrow, we don't know if the water's any good yet. It probably is, but...
Yeah. Response says if they go to Detroit, the answer is no.
Well,
Detroit, Flint,
is a
Michigan.
third world country.
It is.
Yeah.
And Greg DeBear says, flying in Southeast Asia, it was no smoking within 12 hours of the mission, no drinking within 50 feet of the mission aircraft.
Hey, Greg.
Well, then.
That tracks with my experience in Southeast Asia, granted several decades later. I mean, hell, the doctor who overdosed me to where I ended up needing a liver transplant. First, it stitched up my foot that I dropped a cleaver on. That was supposed to have been done with dissolvable stitches. The emergency room doctor, I thought was a homeless guy who was sitting out on the curb in front of the hospital with a liter of beer, chain smoking at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then he came in and he sewed up my foot. Needless to say, 6 weeks later, I removed those internal sutures myself because they had not in fact dissolved and were now trying to exit my foot.
Yeah.
Then I was forced to go back to this same doctor for my parasites, and about 9 months after that, I was in complete liver failure.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works. And Tubella also points out that Bob, the not Russian, learned to fly while drinking. Ergo, he cannot fly sober.
That is as good. That's as good an explanation as any.
I mean, that sounds like Russian pilot training to me.
Checks out.
No, and we were little hellions, but not on purpose.
You weren't bad.
Well,
you were energetic.
Opinions vary. Opinions vary.
Highly energetic.
We don't care about bureaucrats like Azakiwi.
Yeah, very bored.
Oh, they weren't bored.
Well,
they were doing
no,
it
often. We were definitely not bored.
And there were an overabundance of resources.
Did I ever tell you about the time Chris tried to bribe a highway patrol trooper?
I think so.
You mentioned that. I think so.
So, my little brother is not wired spec, and there are more stories about that. But he was 6, I think, and my mom had this brilliant that when we got ready to travel, she bought us carry-on, and she would have us go pack your bags. So we'd be out from underfoot while she was packing. Dad's
I imagine this didn't involve a detailed list of what you were supposed to pack.
No list. Yes, and the Beirut made my father come back 1 year out of 12, or one month out of 12 in the year. They said, Jim, you have got to spend time in civilization for the kids' sake. My dad would go, oh yeah, kids.
Yeah.
He would, and we'd come back and we'd come to Texas to visit my mom's family. So we would pack our bags, and Chris had one rule: he was not allowed to pack his sword, because the previous year the engineers had made us swords because we had discovered Conan, so they made us swords, and when
Reasonable.
European engineers in Africa make swords for 6-year-old boys, they make swords. So Chris packed his sword that year. And we're on a Pan Am 747 flying out Heathrow to the U.S. And there is a drunk shitweasel behind us. And my brother's sitting there and not doing Chris things, which... and he notices, we all notice, the drunk shitweasel is grabbing one of the stewardesses. He's got hands in, she's yelping. And so Chris, I wasn't paying much attention. Chris takes his sword, he walks down the aisle, he's standing there. And here comes stewardess, says, oh, young man. And the drunk reaches, and Chris, whack, hits a wham. And then he walks her up and down the aisle carrying this teak sword that had to weigh 2 pounds. And the drunk is like, what the hell? And my dad, who was extremely strong, leaned over and said, just shut up. And the drunk's like,
yes,
so
sir.
Chris was not allowed to pack his sword. That was one thing. That's the only Chris, no swords for Chris.
Sounds
So
like
Chris
a damn
is
shame.
right. Chris has packed his suitcase, and we fly, and we land at Wichita Falls Municipal Airport, and we are taking the all of a sudden 55-mile-an-hour highway from Wichita Falls to Electra. And my father, who had been driving in Africa, and when he left, it wasn't 55, so he's kiting along. Woo! The trooper pulls us over, and he goes up to talk to Dad. My little brother is looking at Dad. He's looking at the trooper. He's looking at Dad. He's looking at the trooper, and the trooper walks back, takes Dad last and walks back, and my brother is just aghast. So he gets into his bag, and he pulls out a wad of naira you could choke, which is Nigerian money, you could choke a horse with. And he peels off some notes and thinks about it for a second, adds another note. And when the trooper comes back, Chris hands him the money with this, please forgive my father, he is old and senile. Here's your bribe money expression. The trooper looks at this, he looks at my dad and says, what's this? And Dad says, looks like a bribe to me. Trooper freaks out. I pop the lock on my door. My mom pops it back down. And Chris is looking at him. It's like, and then Chris realizes that this cop is holding out for more money.
Really?
Chris knows what the rate is. He even threw some on top for face. He does not get more money. So my 6-year-old brother uncorks on the cop. In very fluent West African pidgin, because that's how you speak to minions of the law. So Chris is yelling in West African pidgin. I'm popping the lock on my door for options. My mom's no, these options, Ian, no options. And my dad's just looking at him. The trooper and the 6-year-old brother are yelling at each other. And my mom goes, sir, pop, click. Sir, he's 6. He's very tired. It's Monopoly money. He wants to give you a gift. You've hurt his feelings. Just click, pop. Just take it. In, pop. Just take it. And the trooper looks at
she's not wrong, is she?
Looks at my dad that's going, yes. And looks at my brothers. And he takes the money. Thank you. And Chris goes, that's what I thought. Pop, click. And the trooper says, all right, y'all go. And Dad says, hey, what about that ticket? And the trooper goes, nope.
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 No. There will be no record of this going forward. I am not telling anybody.
No, I'm not telling anybody about this.
Just understand, sir, speed limit's now 55.
Yeah,
Yes.
as he said, it's 55. I don't want to pull you over again.
Please, I am begging you.
Chris had
Click, pop. Yep.
the story that gets me in trouble.
There's only one.
Oh no, this one particularly gets me in trouble. You're about to figure out why.
Hit it.
Yeah, you're about to figure out why.
Please.
So after we got the Osprey, the giant Osprey book of Roman legion encampments, which every 10-year-old boy needs, right?
I firmly believe so. My wife, the child psychiatrist, is somewhat dubious of this notion.
I hate to say it, your wife's probably right. So we get
she usually is.
Thick, full color book, 1970s on every facet of Roman legion life. Okay, Chris and I, oh boy. So there is a facet of Nigerian life that's not great, and it's called going to the bush or bushman in common. It's uhu and usu in Igbo, and what that is people are not human. There are a lot of things that can send you to the bush, but once you are a bushman, you have no tribe. If you have no tribe, you're not human. If you're not human, there are no laws that apply to you.
Correct.
Bushmen can be raped, bushmen can be murdered, and it's livestock, right? So it's a nasty
livestock is optimistic, honestly.
Yeah, a nasty existence. Well, we had this fence around our yard, and Chris and I had noticed that we picked up a small encampment of bushmen up between the fence and the swamp, not inside the property, but outside, because it was relatively safe there. Well, we had a book of Roman legion.
They were flying bowling balls.
Right?
People stayed the hell away.
Chris and I was 10. I think I was either 10 or 12, and Chris would be either 8 or 10. And so we go, and there were no vine sticks, no vines like the centurion was supposed to carry. So we cut bamboo. And we proceeded to, as my father's best friend said, prod buttock. And we took our bushmen and we started making a Roman legion encampment. Walls, ditch. We are building. There were the gate houses and everything.
Because the Roman legion was three-quarters construction legion and 1/4 combat.
And bearing in mind that Chris and I were tiny for our size. When we got to States, we weren't the smallest children in our grade, the smallest boys in our grade. We were the smallest children. But by God, you will do this. And they've built, raised cots that were sitting in coffee cans of water so ants couldn't get them. And the cots had cover. And they were regimented. And there was
improvement in quality of life.
It seemed to be. There was one guy I call Chicken Man. And Colonel Crapman gets the giggles every time I tell a story. But I was doing my morning walk, as you were supposed to do when you were inspecting your Roman legionary encampment. And I'm walking through, and this guy, Chicken Man, is having a whittle on one of the cots that wasn't his. And I'm going, you use the latrine. That's what it's there for. I know. And he's looking at me. He said, no. Latrine. I know you know where it is. I had you dig it. And Chris is looking at me, looking at Chicken Man. He's looking at me. And he goes, good man. And there was this gigantic bushman that looked like a Greek god carved out of ebony. My father said, I know exactly why he went to the bush. And he had decided that he was Chris's aide-de-camp. So Chris, good man. Yeah, poing, sa. Chris goes, and good man takes and lifts him up. Chris takes a stick, whack, go for make watering hole. And Chicken Man, and takes off. Trapman goes, NCO officer.
Yes.
We called him Chicken Man because I was doing my.
Chris is an officer.
No, Chris is the NCO.
Oh,
I'm the
yeah.
officer.
correct.
Chris,
That's
we're
even
going
more
through-
horrifying.
Yeah, right. And Chris is chewing out Chicken Man. And this is how we got the name Chicken Man. Chris is flat chewing him out because Chicken Man has stolen a chicken. And Chris says, "You will not do this. This is unacceptable. You cannot do this." And I thought, holy shit, my little brother, he's learning. And then Chris goes, "If you're going to steal a chicken, you steal a decent chicken. This one's crap. Go back and steal a good chicken." And I realized he wasn't learning. And it's like, Chris. And he goes, "If the laws don't apply to them, that goes both ways."
He's not wrong.
He's
actually.
not wrong.
That's some slightly scary logic, but
Yeah,
it tracks.
Chris has a lot of slightly scary logic. Sounds logical, but damn. So we've got our little camp, and we're getting tribute. Every morning at the front door would be a third of everything they take, make, steal, find.
Mm-hmm.
A third of it shows up, and my mom, "What the hell did all this come from?" We're going, "Oh, look, eggs." So tribute's showing up, and then Mom and Dad go off to a cocktail party, and we are amusing ourselves. I forget what we were doing. I don't, but we're not going to discuss that here. And we've got 3 of our encampment show up, and they are freaking out. They're freaking out to the point that I have to calm them down before I can understand what the hell they're trying to say. And what they're trying to say is that Goodman Afaka went to market, which doesn't sound bad until you realize that in warrior society, the market is the center of society. That's where literally everything takes place. Animals don't go to market. So somewhere Goodman had found a $5 bill and he went to buy a chicken. Well, crap. So me and Chris, we take off. I don't know why. Followed by our little legionaries running behind us. I'm fucking 10 or 12 years old. But so we get there, and Goodman Afaka is standing in the middle of the market, and he has lost his ever-loving mind. He's ripped off his shirt. There's snot going everywhere. Eyes are bugged out, and he is screaming at the top of his lungs, "I am of Pepe tribe. I be Pepe man." Pepe is West African slang for peri-peri. Little, vicious, red West African chili peppers.
Yep.
And due to the red hair,
Remind you of anybody?
Me and Chris.
Yeah.
So it's like, shit. Look at the guy that's very insulted by Goodman. I said, "Give him the chicken." And he says, young boss, this is a bushman." I said, I know. "Boss, I cannot. And Chris goes, "Goodman!" And Goodman, "Saw! Bring for me this man's head. His clan, the body. I want the head for the insult." And Goodman goes, "Saw!" I go, wait. Look at the grocer. I say, "Bring for me your Oga," which is the shop steward, mid-level in Igbo society. And remembering that Chris and I are the sons of Chief Jim, who is the #1 supplier of bribes for the local economy.
Mm-hmm.
So the Oga hears Chief Jim's son, so he shows up on the double. Like, "Young sirs, what can I do for you?" I said, "I have been insulted by one of your tribe." And he says, This man has insulted you?" I said, "Yes." "What has he done, sir?" "He refuses to sell a chicken to my man." And it's like, record scratch.
Yeah.
Young sir, this is a bushman.
This is a bushman.
Uh-huh.
This is a bushman. I said, I know. I need your head man." "Yes, sir." "Head man." So the chief of the tribe. So
this is procedural.
somewhere between the market and the seat of the clan, wires got crossed. And instead of the son of Chief Jim wants to talk to you, it's Chief Jim wants to talk to you.
Oh dear.
So there are 3 white Mercedes. He is dressed in his full panoply of gear. There's the coral beads. He's got the horsehair And he pulls up, he steps out, he looks around and says, "Oh, young sir, where's your father?" "My father's not here." "Oh." He said, "I need to talk to you." "Yes, young sir, what can I do for you?" "I have been insulted by one of your clan." "You have been insulted? Who has insulted you?" I said, "That dude." "What has he done?" "He has refused to sell a chicken to my man." "Saw, this is a bushman." I said, I know it's a bushman." He said, I will give you this chicken." I said, "No, I've been insulted." He goes, "We must talk." Okay. And the bastard gets sneaky. So out of one of the trunks, they pull out a table and the tablecloth. And he gets a chair. And he sits in the chair and settles out his robes, and he's looking at me. And I'm standing there. And in West African society, the person, this petitioner, stands. It's like, "Oh, you fucker." And then Goodman goes, "Stop," and pushes down, and I sit down, and I'm sitting on something. It's like, holy shit. One of our legionnaires is on hands and feet. Okay, I said, "We have a problem." I said, "Sa, we have no problem. The Lord cannot help. We must open with booze, and we drink." I'm 40 pounds. I am 40 pounds, 12 years old. We have a sip, and I'm getting snockered. And he said, "The way we handle this, the God has spoken to me. I will give you this chicken." And I said, "God is wise. And in response to this generosity, I will have my father only fire half of your tribe." And it's like, well, this is going to be fun. So we must drink. So we have no drink. And then he gets out the cola nuts. And the cola nut has a horse-killing level of caffeine in it on top of the narcotic.
Yeah.
Because you take it before these important things, because it clears your mind, because you're high.
Clears, or does it open one's mind?
Yeah.
You're high and you have incredible energy.
And I'm 12 years old. And we learned something about young Ian that day. We learned that when young Ian gets drunk, he gets iron-assed. So we negotiate for a while.
Don't say. Color me surprised.
And we kill an entire bottle of Kai Kai, which is palm wine, and I can't look at it sideways to this day. We kill an entire bottle. And one of the things about West African society at the time is it's a very, very verbal culture. Very few people actually write. But they do remember things.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So, yes, that very good memories. And here is Chief Jim, number one son, and the head man of his tribe. So this is a social event of the year. Everybody's sitting around passing jugs, watching this.
Yes.
And we get down to the nitty-gritty, and we finally spit and shake over. I said, "All right, I will cause this man to get $5 for the chicken. And then for the insult, I will cause him to be struck." And the equally schnockered headman says, "It is the wisdom of the gods, young man." We spit, we shake. And the entire ongoing group is going, "Wait a minute." Everybody watches you. "Wait a minute." So I stand up and say, "Good man, get that fucking chicken." And Good man grabs the chicken, hands him 5 naira. And everybody's going, "Wait a minute." "Oh, wait a minute. If you pay for services, you have to be human." Oh, that was, and then it's like, "Wait a minute." And I said, "Good man, sa, pow." And I get up, I'm leaning on Chris, and I said, "We got to get out of here before we are too lucky. We got to get the hell out of here." So here's Good man, and he is walking like Caesar coming into Rome. He has a chicken under one arm, and his chest out, shoulders back, and he is strutting on the way out. I'm leaning on Chris because the world won't stay still, and the sun is really loud. And behind us is our little tribe, and they are laughing and singing and pointing at people and shaking their fingers at people's faces. And I just want to get the hell out of there.
Oh, dear.
So we get home, and the adults take off to the encampment to do whatever happy tribesmen do. And I lay on the bed trying not to fall off and have a discussion with a pink squirrel in the corner until my parents get home. And then my still slightly drunk ass and Chris go to dinner. Here's my mother. Here's my father reading the London Gazette. Here's me staring at a plate of spaghetti and wishing I was somewhere else. And Chris is telling mom and dad about the events of the day.
Because of course he did.
Of course he did. And then my mom goes, "Oh my God, I'm raising a pair of warlords." And my father, from behind his paper, says, "Well, once you get past the paperwork, the tribute and the concubines aren't half bad." Mom blows spaghetti out her nose. And 2 weeks of intense negotiation later, the Peped tribe went 200 miles away.
Yes.
Yes, because you had treated with another tribal head as a equal.
Yes.
Thus, they were now people.
Yep. They had exchanged money. I was there. They had a tribal leader. They had an Oga, a slightly squirrely Oga. And they had exchanged money for goods. Therefore, they were humans.
Yep. And the biggest danger was then that they would be treated as humans get treated by larger, more powerful tribes.
Well, the danger there was we had some Bushman women, and Mom didn't want concubines running around the house.
That's fair.
No concubines.
Little young for that.
How cruel. I'm saying this is.
I was a little young for intertribal major negotiations too, but the hell.
I'm a little young for palm wine too. I'm sitting here thinking my boys are 15, 13, and 11.
My oldest turns 12 next month.
I can send them some books.
Yeah,
we have the books.
You know,
I have the older version from what you weren't getting paid for correctly, but we have them, and we have read stories. My boys don't believe them.
Well, they're young.
That's
You
fair.
say that seems slightly unbelievable for somebody who was younger than me at the time.
Seems
I go,
is doing a lot of
that's because you have spent your entire youth inside of the United States, and the last 6 years have been in quite nice parts of it, actually.
Well, yeah, and 15-foot pythons in the front living room aren't a thing there.
Unfortunately, my dogs would have a hell of a time with that.
Well,
it may not end well for them.
An 8-ounce mongoose doesn't have much of a problem with them.
An 8-ounce mongoose is smarter than my res dogs.
It's true.
I would argue that. I would argue that a lot. For those of you who don't know, story time again. Story time with Uncle Ian.
Well, that's the episode.
There are traders in Warri that go up and down the streets at night or in the evening, and you haggle for all sorts of stuff. And they love my mom because she could haggle like nobody's business. So Ollie Cheap Cheap was the premier trader, and he showed up one night, and Mom didn't want anything, and there was a stewardess there who told Ollie Cheap Cheap if he had a snakeskin purse, she would take it. So next night, Ollie brings a buddy, and they've got a long pole and something in a burlap sack hanging from the pole. And he comes up, "Oh, madam, I have what you asked for." And Mom's going, "Get that off my porch." Well, we had a pet Kusi Mans, because who doesn't? And the Kusi Mans is a pygmy mongoose, and they're that big, and it's a orange furry tennis ball with a road cone on one end and a bottle brush on the other. And they're slightly psychotic. Good pet.
Oh, Bob has the right commentary here. Give me just a second for it to show up in the window.
So, Dad had built a mongoose aminium on the front porch.
Yep. Mongoose is Leroy Jenkins' divine wrath on the mortal plane. Oh.
And Unhinged.
Yeah, Bob has...
Yes.
Bob, as I understand, I've never met the little bastards.
Dad had built a mongoose aminium for Squeaks, our Kusi Mans on the front porch. So Ollie Cheap Cheap and his buddy drop this bag on the mongoose aminium, and it shatters the plexi that was the skylight, and the bag falls into the mongoose aminium. It turns out to be a python.
Oh.
Well, Squeaks stumbles out of his, scratching. What the hell? And smells snake. The snake finds out that his 15-foot ass has been dropped into somewhere that he's been in a bag, burlap bag for God knows how long. And he's been dropped into something that reeks of mongoose, and something has bitten his ass.
Yep.
So a 15-foot python is that big around. Squeaks is that big around.
Uh-huh.
So Squeaks has a tail. The python pours himself up the side of the mongoose minion, down it, with Squeaks all 4 feet braced to keep his meal from getting away. And he's never going to be hungry again, by God. And the snake sees an opening that looks like it might be a crack in some timber, which happened to be our front door, and hauls ass through the front door into the house. Dad and his best buddy are sitting having cocktails. Best buddy goes, "Holy God!" and flat-footed leap on top of the sofa. Dad lifts his feet and watches the snake go by, and it goes under said aforementioned teak chest, and it gets under there and knocks Squeaks off, who's been just on his tail the entire way. Mom comes running in, grabs Squeaks, who's, by God, get your ass, fight me. Mom comes in, where is it? Where the hell is it? And Dad says, well, I think it's under the chest. And Ollie's going, Madam, you have my beef. And Mom, I don't want you. Get that thing out of here. And Dad says, if everybody will calm down, it will probably fuck off all on its own. Nobody was calming down. So Chris and I hear the uproar. We go running in, along with Cyril, the houseboy. And
something interesting is happening.
Because something interesting is happening. Something might explode. We go running in there, and we see, oh, holy crap, that's a snake. Cyril goes, ooh. Mom's going, somebody get that snake out of my house. Chris grabs a vase, takes the flowers out of the vase, empties the vase on Cyril. Again.
Oh, what in the hell?
I have no idea.
It's Dave's fault.
Yeah.
That's probably fair. I blame the Air Force.
There we go. Probably. They're your tech support there.
Chris, never taking his eyes off the snake, grabs the vase, takes the flowers out of the vase, pours it on Cyril, puts the flowers back in, puts the vase back on the... And Dad's over there, and he goes, aha! Grabs something, and Squeak sees Dad move and takes this flying leap off Mom's lap, shoots under the chest, screaming, "Here's your death! Prepare to be devoured!" My Dad goes, pulls his hand out, and Squeaks has got his forearm and is delivering the mongoose death bite to the back of Dad's wrist. And Dad's going,
oh,
honey, I don't think your rat's helping things. Mom comes over, gets the Squeaks, sits back down. Dad goes back and says, hey, boys, see if you can find a tail on this thing. And it's like, sweet. And Tom, who's still standing on the sofa, goes, Jim, that's a predator. And Dad, still behind the chest, this snake's head with Dad's clamped snake, and he nods the head, goes, I've got the pointy end. It's all good.
I mean, that's applicable with pythons.
So
yes.
We get one of his canes, and we are prying the snake's coils. And the snake is pissed off about this. And
imagine why.
We get the tail, and, Dad, we got it. And the manuals will tell you that when a python is threatened, it will secrete a noxious substance.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yes. I'm here to tell you that if a python secretes a noxious substance, then a fire hose secretes water.
Uh-huh.
That noxious substance has the range to reach out and paint a red-haired mother from her eyebrows to her toes. So we're holding this like, Dad? And Dad's like, what? Said, there's a problem. Did it get you? Us? No. And Ollie Cheap Cheap is losing his mind. And Mom has finally had enough. And she scrapes snake shit off her face.
Yeah, we're blaming the Air Force for this.
Are we being blocked?
No. Dave's connection drops momentarily, and then it does this.
Ollie is losing his mind, and my mother explodes. She comes off that chair and just detonates. And
Ollie, this is not something that actually happened all that often.
No, but Mom was redheaded. So she detonates, and we've given the tail to Ollie. And Ollie's supposed to be pulling the tail, and Mom explodes, and she's saying, pull the motherfucking snake before I tear your eyeball out of the socket and skull fuck you.
You know?
Ollie takes off like he's been hit with a cattle prod, hits the end of the snake, and just like a dog at the end of a chain. But he moves the snake. Dad jumps out from behind the chest, grabs the snake, heaves it in the front, and it snake takes off. And Dad's like, well, that's done. And looks around and sees my mom. It's like, baby, why are you covered in grease? And Mom's like, Dad takes off down the hall. And Dad looks at Tom. It's like, the hell? Tom says, red.
Wow.
Thanks, Air Force. Man, Bob says, damn it, Frank, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, Frank. Frank was probably watching my Facebook this morning and lost his mind because I put up a video on how to make pressure-sensitive landmines.
A process you learned when you were approximately 9 years old, right?
Did I make it to 9?
Okay, 7.
It was young engineer.
Ian was precocious and had lots of engineers as enablers.
Lots of engineers that didn't have children, and a slightly absent-minded father. There was an engineer one time that I think we'd mined the Warri River to prevent a amphibious assault. I think that was it. And what? I mean, landmines would be appropriate for hippos, possibly for crocodiles. We had the spiky balls. They were only about that big, but and in the river.
Explosives or explosives.
One of the engineers told my dad, "Aren't you worried? Aren't you worried about your kids handling nitroglycerin? Because I think we had them filled with nitroglycerin, but don't quote me on that. Aren't you worried?" Dad said, "It's educational." It's like, Jim, they could lose.
This is going to be a mess to edit.
Jim, they could lose body parts. And my mom, several decades before Sir Terry Pratchett wrote this, said, and I quote, well, educational, right?
I mean, it's valid.
Nitroglycerin is so easy to make. And not nearly as... I was extremely disappointed about Hollywood. When we got back to States, we used to watch movies. And the nitroglycerin was so damn unstable in the movies. And Chris and I are going, I don't remember ours being that unstable.
Well, heck. Oh, and Dave's back.
Ish.
I swear I'm not doing anything. Like,
we're blaming the Air Force.
That's fair.
Valid.
Because Dave's still stuck in military temporary housing following the flooding back in July.
Yep. Hopefully for not much longer.
Just a couple of weeks more, right? I'm crossing my fingers and praying to whatever deity may listen that Dave and Mrs. Dave and the Davelings may return to their actual house.
I'm going to let y'all do some talking since I've monopolized most of it. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, viewers, listeners, as I said, we were going to redefine chaos gremlin for you in terms of children. I think we've accomplished that.
Yes.
The next time that you children are being chaotic, just remember, they could be feeding black powder into your coffee grinder. They could
be indeed starting their own tribe.
They could be minor warlords in 1970s West Africa. Or there could be a 15-foot snake in your living room, shitting on everything.
It could always be worse.
The snake wasn't actually their fault.
Yeah, to be fair, the snake wasn't exactly their fault.
No, and in
back.
our cases, yeah,
Terrible
Ian
thing.
and Chris are the definitive chaos gremlins. Learn from them.
Yeah,
It's a terrible thing to be on a 2-hour podcast with an hour and 45-minute bladder.
Already been there. So, I think we have sufficiently redefined. And Greg says, yeah, but the concubines are worth it.
And the tribute. Don't forget the tribute.
I think for 12-year-old Ian, the tribute was.
I honestly don't know what's going on here.
Was more important than the concubines.
Yeah, the tribute was great. I love fresh eggs. Still do to this day.
Yeah, you're in the right place for it. We got a number of people raising eggs out there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, good Lord. Bob's got a question. Give me a sec to be able to put it up. Oh, the workshop is AI generated for me because my workshop is not actually that clean. Yeah, I'm not sure what
yes.
Dave's connection.
George McDonald Fraser is one of my favorites.
Yeah, Bob says, just an out of left field question for Ian. You ever read Quartered Safe Out Here by George McDonald Fraser? Seems like it's up your alley.
Yeah, I love that.
That's going to have to go on my to-be read list.
George McDonald Fraser, he did the Flashman series.
Ah.
Okay.
Yes. And Quarter Safe Out Here was his semi-autobiographical of a young officer in a Highland regiment.
Makes sense. If I remember correctly, all of us are primarily Scots-Irish, are we not?
Yes. Primarily.
Yeah. There's a substantial admixture of Cornish in the background.
I tend to call it an admixture of the occasional rapacious Englishman. But yeah, as I've gone back tracing the family tree, I'm related to all but one of the children of Robert the Bruce.
Oh, me too.
There's a lot of us.
Good.
There's a lot of us like that. They were prolific.
I'll be right back again.
Blame the Air Force. The only problem here is what I'm going to end up with is 14 files of audio and video to try and stitch together to get some decent to get a decent audio podcast out of this. But we'll figure it out. Oh, another comment
Growing
from
pains.
RK. David Niven wrote a little bit about his World War II service. The sticky bomb was the best story. It's another one I'm going to have to add to my to be read pile, which I looked, in my bio on our website. I said I read 40 to 50 books a year.
Yeah.
I'm in the 60s right now for this year.
Good for you. I don't know if I've read anything No, that's not true. Don't know if I've completed a book this year. I've read a great deal of things.
Oh, I told you last week I didn't get to sleep before 3 a.m. once in a week. What am I doing when I cannot sleep? I'm
Reading.
going through Kindle Unlimited, which currently I'm on book 28 of a 32-book series. It's actually excellent.
Robert Jordan?
No, this is on Kindle Unlimited. This is J.N. Chaney, the Backyard Starship series, which for all the crap that ends up on Kindle Unlimited, I seem to keep finding pretty good stuff.
There is an astonishing ecosystem of authors and readers who are not at all connected with traditional publishing.
Oh, yeah.
Which
you see
is a... I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No. It's... I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. A friend of ours, Jason Fusting, is putting up a novel on... Dude, you swallow those. You don't inhale. But Jason Fusting is putting out an experiment on Royal Road right now, and I do a lot of reading on there. It's very good. It's a sort of a light lit RPG elements, but I am very pleased with the offering. But
Jason's great.
there
He's able to write.
are people who are putting out entire series, hundreds of thousands of words serially, who, as far as I can tell, have no connection to modern publishing houses.
Oh, no. There's these days, quite honestly, traditional publishing, the big houses, institutional inertia is a thing. If institutions are much like anything else, if you're big and heavy, you go for a long time. But quite honestly, I feel traditional publishing is on the way out. You get better books quicker.
Yeah, the traditional publishing houses are thoroughly disconnected from their audiences at this point.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Now, being a small publisher of my own self, I've got long rants about that.
Yes.
Yeah, which is our segue to what we were planning on wrapping up with, which, Ian, after an adventurous childhood, you went into the Army, if I remember correctly, cavalry scout.
Yeah, I was Cav Scout in the Army, and then went feral for a bit, and then for about 4 years, and then
you don't say.
Yeah. So somewhere in there, I stateside and became the EMT and decided I liked it. And I went up to Amarillo because at the time in 93, Amarillo had one of the finest paramedic training programs in the United States. And they would take a class every 2 years. They would take 25 people every 2 years. In 2 years, you were a paramedic. If you survived it, you were a paramedic. It was a fantastic course. Well, I was number 27. I was number 27. Well, Amarillo College looked at sweet GI Bill money and said, "Hey, there's still a couple of slots left in the police academy. It's just like being a paramedic."
You've already gotten through with the Army. You've already dealt with recruiters. How did they get you out of that one?
I just didn't realize that registrar was a Latin word that meant recruiter.
Yeah.
So that was another 26 years.
In law enforcement, hence LawDog and a whole nother book of stories, which I'm going to tease this for the next time we've got Ian on. Ian is, I believe, the only law enforcement officer in the United States to have successfully completed a drug bust while dressed up as a pink gorilla in a top hat.
Somebody who later became a friend actually couldn't believe it actually happened. It got through cop circles, and it's like, oh, this is bullshit, and checked and found witnesses. And then did a year-long study to see if it had ever at any time been done anywhere else. As of 2003, I can confidently say that no other pink gorilla suit has done a drug bust.
Outstanding.
Yeah, so the next time you see Story Time with Uncle Ian come up, we will tell the saga of Pinky,
Pink
gorilla.
Yay, stand Pinky!
Gotta love crackheads, right?
Crackheads.
So,
Yes.
Ian, what are you up to now, aside from your occasional bouts at the, what's the nice way to call it? Assisted living facility?
Independent living.
Okay,
Yes.
independent living.
Yeah, because when I abruptly retired from law enforcement, I lasted about 2 months before Rita came in, kissed me, and said, "Get a job."
Help you get out of the house, please.
Yes, get a job.
I can see that.
Rita and I opened a publishing house, and something that might appeal to your regular viewers is one of our lines, something that Cedar Sanderson and Rita and I have really pushed for, is boys' adventure stories. So we publish adventure books for boys these are boys' books.
Ones that inspired you and Chris in Africa.
Exactly. Yes. Well, sort of.
That may not be quite the endorsement we think it is to some of our viewers.
I can see a whole bunch of viewers going, nope. And Cedar is threatening to publish, that we're going to publish The Education of LawDog.
That might not be legal under federal statutes.
You know, my lawyer said the exact same thing.
I'm just going to say, I know how some of the things I got up to as a teenager in rural America in the late 90s are now federal, now fall under the umbrella of federal terrorism charges.
Yes.
You got into a hell of a lot more than I did.
There are some of the tamer things. But the really fun stuff that people want to hear about, again, my lawyer's going.
Right.
So I don't know about the educational law dog, but we do.
Maybe that should be a posthumous publishing.
Yes.
Although hopefully that will be long in the offing.
God, I hope so.
Right.
Well, we are publishing boys' books and doing rather well. We've got Dave Freer and
God, I love Dave.
I
love his
magnificent.
so much.
The Prometheus Awards are actually looking at his story he turned in for us. So, Chris Nuttall has given us a couple of books.
I'm so glad he's still around. That was dicey for a while back.
No kidding. Yeah. Mallory, who just won the Jim Bain Memorial Short Award, has given us some really good boys work. So Raconteur Press we're turning out boys books that I would have wanted, that you guys would have wanted to read when you were kids.
Hell, that I want to read today.
We are quite proud of that line. And I've got a bunch of fathers working for me that I'm going to sneak onto this program.
Oh, hell yeah.
To talk about it, yeah. Nick Nethery, retired Army EOD major. Christopher Denote, full-blood Colonel Air Force.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Chris is good people.
Yeah, he is. They're all good folks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sneak him on. Might get Jim Curtis on here.
Oh, we need to get Jim on here.
There's
actually a point at where my grandfather's career in the Navy and Jim's intersected out of the Pacific Missile Test Range in the early 70s.
I will guarantee you they met.
Oh, I know. They did torpedo testing in a trench out there just off of Kauai.
Mm-hmm.
One day, a submarine with the bow planes in the wrong position surfaced after a torpedo test, fortunately with a inert warhead, had ended sooner than expected.
Oh,
About 15 miles off of Kauai. But yeah, the bow diving planes were on the bow of the ship and not on the conning tower. And then it went away.
whoopsie.
Yeah, my grandfather related that story, and Jim knows that story.
Yeah.
My shocked face. Let me show you it.
Oh,
Yes, Bob.
Oh, wow.
6 degrees of Jim Curtis. Yeah.
Greg says Jim knows freaking everybody. Of course, when you're as old as he is, that's not unexpected. Yeah,
That's fair.
having had the opportunity to inspect Jim's collection of the family's cult revolvers, I tend to avoid references to how old he may or may not be.
Jim is the origin of that joke. Hey, who's up on there on the balcony with Jim Curtis?
Right.
Yeah, which is one of those things when he hands me a business card outside my apartment in Provo, Utah, and I go, oh, holy shit.
You should. Have you ever been to an NRA convention with that man?
No, I stay away from those.
You should go
assume,
just
again,
once
he
with
knows
Jim.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah, just
everybody
once.
knows Jim.
Yeah, Les Bear. Hey, Jim, how's it going? I'm going.
And again, things in his collection make more sense.
Ronnie
Right.
Barrett. We were walking by the Barrett booth, and Ronnie Barrett, in the middle of an interview, goes, "Hey, Jim, need to talk to you here in a minute." I'm going, seriously?
Yeah. That's Jim. Old NFL,
Yeah.
for those of you who remember the old Gunternet.
Oh,
Okay. Speaking of the old Gunternet and the various hijinks on there, you know what I was recently informed is now considered the old lore of the gun world online?
Okay.
The tactical wheelbarrow.
Oh my God, Gun Kid.
Gun Kid and Gecko 45 are now the old lore.
Yeah.
Gun Kid was an old nightmare. If you were a moderator on the high road or the firing line, that metaphorical sack of cat urine. Oh my God! The tactical wheelbarrow and remember the debarked Chihuahua?
Uh-huh. Mind you, I was
Oh,
like 22 years old at the time that was going on.
When the feds finally grabbed his ass, I was so glad.
I didn't know the feds got him.
In close to the Oklahoma Panhandle. Yeah, they snatched him with a quickness. He went off to prison. Thank God.
That's not that far away.
Yeah, the origins of Mall Ninja is now old lore of the internet.
Oh, well, I'll just mainline some Geritol and grab a Walter, shall I?
Hey, you know what? Last year, this time, I was actually tottering around my neighborhood on a walker after abdominal wall reconstruction.
Oh.
I got better, though. Lots of
good. Yeah, good. We don't need to be losing you yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, let's see.
Holy shit.
Let's see. This was birthday number 43. My liver transplant was at 21. As one of my friends told me when I said I don't feel like having a birthday party, he says, "You're 22 years past your expiration date. You are, 1, having a birthday party, and 2, I'm giving you booze." Like, for God's sake, I still have 3 bottles of Woodford Reserve that you guys gave me last year that haven't been opened.
Darn.
Talking about
there are certainly worse things. I just need to get an excuse to get everybody from Texas back up to my house to empty out the liquor cabinet for me.
We're gonna be up there in July, I think. We're coming for Riders Cantina.
Okay.
And Rita will skin me alive. Rita will skin me alive if we don't come by and see you.
Yeah, because Rita wants some grilled chicken.
She does.
Fair. Although my wife has a point,
yeah.
Brian. Every time we stay at your house, we have some kind of disaster.
Well, that's true. I mean, from having everything stolen out of the Jeep in front of my house at somewhere between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, and then
Yeah.
your house getting flooded while you were here last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dave and Mrs. Dave, y'all stay there. We'll let everybody else come up and drink our booze.
That makes sense.
If you want to feel old, everybody should know, if you're a gunny, you should know the origins of the gun rights cake, right?
Well, that was you.
That was
Yes.
me. However, I have been informed within the last 2 years that that was pre-internet days, and nobody knows it was from a magazine somewhere pre-internet days.
Oh, from a magazine somewhere pre-internet, right?
Yeah,
that hurt.
Because pre-Facebook counts as before the internet, right?
That hurt.
Hey,
That was a gun magazine before the internet. The bastards, you little shits!
I'm
Get off my
reliably
lawn.
informed that only old boomers use Facebook anyway.
Well, that's why we publish daily on Facebook and Instagram and not on TikTok.
Right.
Because we're old and our audience is also presumably, not children.
And we don't like fueling the CCP's machine.
Yeah, I don't like Chinese spies going through my backlist.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're doing that anyways.
Yeah, I don't want to make it easier on them.
True.
Exactly.
Fair.
So, Ian, where do we find all of these books that you guys are publishing?
We're on Amazon. We're gently expanding to Ingram Spark. So if you don't like the big river company, we'll get to Ingram Spark. You'll be able to get them from Barnes and Noble, but it's a slow process. It's Raconteur Press. It's on Amazon. Trust me, you can find us.
Oh yeah,
We've got over 70 anthologies in 2 years.
Yeah,
And-
and you know what? I've hardly even touched those because I've been reading novels, and the anthologies tend to jerk my mind around a bit. But I keep going and looking at the list and going, God, and looking at who's writing on them, and go, God, I need to read these. I need to read these. I need to read these. I've got. If I were not reading pretty much everything on an e-reader, my to-be read pile would be filling up half of my workshop.
Right.
And a portion,
to-be-read
portion of the second workshop that's downstairs for all the gun and reloading stuff.
I've got a to be read pile, then I've got a to be edited pile. It's like, whew.
Right.
We have a
I can
Substack,
imagine.
Raconteur Press Substack, which if you want to see what's new, go to the Raconteur Press Substack.
That's right.
Yep.
And if you want to hear what Ian has to say about whatever is going on in the day, you also on Substack find the Bug Scuffle Gazette.
Bug Scuffle Gazette.
yes.
I am told that I'm a rabid libertarian right winger. I have views. I don't. I'm 59 years old and grouchy. Get off my lawn. And
I'm 43 and grouchy. Shut the hell
I
up.
have a lot of views. Yep, I have esoteric views on stuff. If you want to read rants about Iran, you go to the Bug Scuffle Gazette.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
proper way to use a sap. Rants on Iran, the proper ways to use the sap. It's little things.
Well, there was your
it?
little interlude over the Christmas season.
Oh, the Flicker Fox tales.
Yes, those were lovely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Those
That
are
was
great fun.
that was a bit of a departure for me. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, but it seems to have done rather well.
Yeah.
Well, my kids like those.
Oh yeah.
That's good to know.
Oh yeah. I read those to my younger son.
Well, I've had a long, and Brian's read me for as long as I've been publishing. I think Dave has too, for that matter.
Yeah.
And I have this thing about childhood is too nerfed. It's too safe.
Mm-hmm.
So the flicker foxes, Sam Robb actually came up with the concept. I just ran with it. And the flicker foxes are a gently mythologized picture of the inside of Ian's mind when it comes to childhood, which is quite honestly a dangerous place to be.
But you learn things.
Yes,
It's true.
Yes, nitrate baths and rocket candy.
Well,
And-
one of the things we've told our kids is our job is to teach them enough to survive, and the hope is that we teach them quickly enough.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, and one of
too
the
safe. Too safe is as bad as not safe enough.
That's why my boys have learned how to use a chainsaw.
Yeah.
That's why I let them chop firewood when we may be a little bit sketchy with the axe. You know, as long as they're not about to embed it in their own leg or their brother's face.
Yeah, but I firmly believe, and the fact that I don't have children that I know of probably has something to do with this. But I firmly believe that childhood that's too safe is as bad or worse than childhood that's not safe enough. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
I agree.
And for those fathers out there, and it's as a 26-year veteran of law enforcement, I've seen a lot of kids.
Yeah.
The mothers tend to drive too safe and the fathers tend to drive not safe enough. And between the two, there needs to be a happy medium.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell folks how to do that. I don't know. I just know that as a child, I had the happy medium. But watching ladies in the audience when I tell my tales get all pale tells me that maybe my happy medium isn't the American couple's happy medium.
Possibly
Ian,
not.
several of our friends tell stories that they think are hilarious, and then have the realization that something abnormal just happened.
Yeah. Now, there was
Let me show you it.
There was one thing I intended to point out here is that, Ian, you may not, technically speaking, be a dad, but you have certainly shepherded a lot of young men into productive adulthood.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, that makes you more of a dad than half of the people who inherited that title biologically.
The first time I met,
being a sperm donor must make you a real father.
first time one of my fond memories is the first time I met you and Nick. Y'all told me about how much my writing on the blog meant.
Yeah.
One of the first things both you and Nick told me. And damn, that got me. That was.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that old lore of the Gunternet was me as I was first having kids or slightly before having kids. I picked up a lot of wisdom out of old LawDog and old NFO and Priest.
Yeah.
Which at least I like to think I've been able to pay Peter back a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's catch up with the comments and wrap this up. RK says, you three are not boomers. Jim and I are boomers. That's correct. Y'all are Gen X at least.
I am proudly Gen X.
Brian and I are skating in at the very tail end of Gen X. There's some people who even like to describe it as Zennial because of the traits shared with both sides.
Yeah, because we were young children in the analog world, and then we came of age in the digital world.
You
Bridge that gap a little bit.
You didn't really have a good childhood until the federal government ran an ad every night saying, "Parents, do you know where your kids are?" And your mom went,
10
"Shit,
p.m.
shit, I got kids. Wait a minute."
Right?
My parents knew where I was most of the time. Granted, sometimes that was they are somewhere in the woods that direction, and they did not know we were poaching squirrels for dinner instead of bringing food for ourselves. But frankly, I think that was just good for.
I got my first rifle when I was 12. It was mine. First rifle I didn't borrow from my mom or my dad. My first very dedicated rifle was a Remington 5.52 I got from Christmas when I was 12.
Mine was a shoot. Oh, it's one of the Marlin tube-fed semi-autos. I can tell you, there were squirrels, and during the 2 years I worked at a scout camp, there were a lot of skunks that fell to that rifle. We'd stay over Saturday nights when the campers were gone to deal with the skunks. We also trapped them. You ever tried to retrieve a live trap with skunk in it?
Not willingly.
I've seen the live trap with a skunk in it. There was no retrieval.
We learned that that we set the live traps with those 12 mil thick, we call them body bags for garbage. We'd line them with that, and then go and slide another one over the front end of it, and then we toss them in the lake and come back a couple hours later. The skunks are mean as shit.
No kidding.
No, I mean, they're right there with the rattle as far as.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they're either a weasel family or weasel adjacent, and weasels are psychotic.
They're mustelids,
yeah,
weasels are psychotic.
Yeah,
weasels, badgers, wolverines,
rattles.
If you've ever heard skunks mating in the middle of the night, sounds like feral cats having an MMA fight, and you can hear it. You can hear it from half a mile away.
There was when I was a deputy up the Panhandle, on Panhandle Caprock, and there was an exotic game ranch. I hate those words.
There's a bunch of those in Texas now.
Now this one, like they all do, went out of business. This one went out of business like most of them do. So got a call. I had to go out there, and I'm going through this game ranch. Since I know it's a game ranch, I've got my Mossberg 12 gauge. And I am sneaking through, I forget why the hell, I was looking for something or somebody. And behind me, a peacock screamed.
I whipped peacocks down.
If you're not expecting it, that noise will freak you out.
I whipped around and baseball batted a drag chicken with a Mossberg 12 gauge and killed that thing graveyard dead. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, peacocks are weird. Oh,
Tell me, Deputy McMurtrie, why did you feel so threatened by the peacock that you had to use lethal force?
Pow!
Well, as somebody who has at least book knowledge of the way that leopards drop out of trees.
Yes,
that makes sense.
That thing, and you wouldn't think something that big of a tail and that noisy could sneak up behind a deputy sheriff.
Oh, they can.
And if you've ever heard a peacock scream in the middle of the night, imagine it 2 feet behind you.
Yep.
We actually had some around. We had some around our neighborhood for a while.
I hate those damn things.
May actually have done them in, honestly.
Hope and pray that is the case.
There were some living on NC Tam's naval base in Hawaii when I got stationed thereabouts, and the first couple of times it was like, what the heck? Oh, right, I do remember what that is. Yeah, you get used to it.
Hearing it across the street is one thing. You can know what it is, but when it's 2 foot behind you, it's a whole different kettle of fish.
2 foot behind you would be.
When you're already on edge because you're walking around with a shotgun. So I don't remember why I was walking around with a shotgun, but I was on edge about something.
Yeah. Let's see. Bob says some people want TikTok banned because it's CCP spyware. I want it banned because I hate TikTokers. We are not the same. Well, I will say that as rabid libertarian. I hate the TikTokers. I don't want them banned. I just wish they'd shut the hell up and leave my kids alone.
The thing about TikTok is some of the stupidest, dumbest trends get started there. The
not to
prank
mention
trend,
the IGRC propaganda.
the prank trend that they do stupid shit and call it a prank. That's gonna get people killed.
It's gonna get people killed. 100%.
Absolutely will. If it hasn't already, I presume it has, and just has not gone
It
public.
has. There was. I know of
It was
one who got
suppressed.
shot, and I believe the grand jury refused to indict on the shooter.
Yeah,
But some TikTok prankster, I think it was a clown thing or something, jumped out and got his ass Mozambiqued. Like, well,
Yeah, don't
Darwin-
jump scare
Darwin
people you
wins
don't
again.
know.
it's one
that
thing to
should be
pull.
common sense.
It's one thing to pull that kind of thing in Europe. Most you'll probably get is a beat down. But
And even then,
you got to
generally
remember,
not.
Americans carry firearms and train with them.
And our last comment, which I think is a pretty good way to close this one out, from
Yes.
Bob Cruz. If you don't learn about dragons as a child, how do you fight them as an adult?
Yeah.
Which,
What is it? C.S. Lewis said.
Yes.
There's a C.S. Lewis quote, and I can't pull a direct quote from memory right now.
Yeah.
But we tell stories to children about dragons, not to scare them about dragons, but to teach them dragons can be beat,
Yes.
exactly.
and that's
Because they will encounter monsters when they are older.
Well, as
Yeah.
plenty of recent events have shown, they may encounter them as children too.
This is also true.
yeah.
And let's hope ours aren't among them. I would really prefer there were no children ever subjected to that crap. But I think this was a we may have set us back on the road to monetization, but
Oh darn!
Oh
Okay.
noes!
I would like to see this thing paying for itself at some point, but
Yeah.
it's certainly been entertaining. And I think for a few dads who think their children are chaotic, and I hope we have given them an idea of what
Challenge
could
accepted.
actually be happening in their backyards.
Oh, I didn't tell some of the better ones.
Oh, I know. I
That's-
know.
Why we'll have you back on?
Those are still the ones that were curated for public consumption.
Yep.
Because some of those we might run afoul of federal laws just by telling them.
I actually did check with a lawyer, and he said it happened in a foreign country. Half of those foreign countries don't exist anymore, and I can work with extradition laws. It's like, cool.
Outstanding.
Oh, geez. And Bob has to give us another line here. The real monetization was the friends we made along the way. Yeah, but you know what? My friends don't pay the bills.
Well done, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Bob. I love it when he shows up on my other podcast too. I hope you come back. We're generally a little more aimed at trying to help the other poor bastards who are raising kids in this screwed up world. But
And that's one of the reasons that we started the boys book line.
yeah, absolutely. And the the bit from Lewis is absolutely correct. We tell stories about dragons to show them that dragons can in fact be beat.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's vitally important.
And when it comes down to it, that is all what we're preaching every week is you put in the effort and you become a little bit better every day. You make mistakes, and that's okay, and you learn from them, and then you go forth and make new mistakes. We can impart that to our kids. I think we've done our jobs as dads. So if y'all find anything of value in our ramble fests here, please like and subscribe. It would be appreciated to help us get to where this thing pays for itself so we can keep doing it long term without siphoning funds out of my fledgling other businesses.
Right.
But we appreciate everybody who has participated in the comments. We thank you for joining and watching us live, for watching or listening after the fact. And we will catch you guys on the next episode next week, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time.
Well, let me know and I'll pop back on. And I've got a whole bunch of dads lined up that will be happy to come on too.
We will quite happily bring them on. Okay, guys.
All right, that is it for tonight's episode. Thank you for joining us. Quick reminder, all opinions expressed here are solely those of the individual speakers, hosts and guests alike, and do not represent the views of any affiliated person, organization, company, sponsor, or other entity. This show is provided for entertainment purposes only. Nothing discussed is professional advice of any kind. Always consult a qualified professional and use your own best judgment before acting on anything we've talked about. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.